Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the 5.8 banners and who you should be pulling for. We'll be going over the kits of Mualani, Chasca, Citlali, and talking a little bit about Ineffa, but just a small announcement. So for those of you who aren't aware who this person is, this is Ironmouse, arguably the biggest VTuber in the western sphere of VTubing. She recently announced that she will be departing from Shoujo, the company that she worked under, as they owed the Immune Deficiency Foundation over $500,000. And since she made this announcement, everybody has raised over $1 million for this charity, and I would like to help out as much as I'm able to. So all of the AdSense that is made off of this video will be going to this charity directly, so any interaction with this video will absolutely help. Thank you so much for your time. Let's get into the video. Good morning, gamers. Shana, could you not? You're kind of ruining my shot. Good morning, gamers. Today is such an exciting video for me. Today is so exciting. I say that about every video. I know I do, but today is genuinely so exciting for me. Not only has my main Mualani been announced to be getting a rerun, but so has Chasca and Citlali, two of my absolute favorite units in this game. This patch is huge for Natlan enjoyers. This is basically a Natlan patch apart from Ineffa. If you just ignore Ineffa, she's an honorary Natlanese now. So I thought that we could do just a really simple, fun video just talking about these characters, why I love them, how they work, the teams that they work in, a little bit on how to build them and how you can build them if you wanted to, but mainly just showing them off. I'm very passionate about these characters. I've loved them since they were released. I skipped the Archon who gets Citlali and her weapon. Chasca is a character that I have defended since the day she got announced. I love her design. I love her so much. She's so cool. And obviously Mualani was the mascot of this channel before we ended up getting the official Watts branding, so it only seems fair to talk a little bit about them and how they work. But at the end, we're also going to talk a little bit about Ineffa's kit, what we know so far from the stream. Unfortunately, I am not currently yet able to do beta testing or anything like that, and I'm not yet in Mr. Hoyo's good books enough to be able to be allowed onto the creator surface. Perhaps one day, but not yet. I can only talk about what was announced and also personal predictions and things like that, so we'll get into that towards the end about Ineffa. This video will be timestamped, so if you're only interested in Chasca, you can skip to Chasca. If you're interested in Citlali, you can do so. And obviously, because everybody is interested in Mualani, because she is perfect in every single way, you will all watch the Mualani section, or Mualani's gonna blow you up. Before we get into that though, I do just want to say this video is very, very fortunately sponsored once again by Loot Bar. Their segment's going to play. Obviously there will be a timestamp and a segment if you want to skip ahead, but thank you so much to Loot Bar once again. I am hopefully in conversations at the moment to try and do a giveaway for Yelan's skin. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll see if that pans out. 5.8 looks like it's going to be an absolutely insane patch, especially one to end Natlan on just in general. I will of course be, as usual, doing a Natlan in 24 hours video when 5.8 drops, and I think that that's going to be super exciting. We're going to do some summons for Ineffa next week. It's going to be really, really cool. So I guess we should probably start off with Mualani. As the mascot, or the ex-mascot these days of this account, I genuinely cannot recommend her enough as a unit. As the first character to release, or at least the first 5-star unit of Natlan to release, I was worried that her kit perhaps wouldn't age as well. She may have gotten a little tiny bit of the Linny treatment when it comes to relevancy within the meta, but unfortunately for Linny's sake, Mualani has aged very, very well. She is still a very strong DPS, she still has a lot of potential, and she's only gotten better with the release of more units further down the line, and I can imagine she's only going to continue with her relevance and her growth in the meta as more Nodcry supports come out or more relevant supports that may end up buffing her in the future. In terms of her actual kit itself, she's a HP scaler that basically does normal attack damage but through her elemental skill, so she doesn't actually need this leveled up. I wasn't thinking straight, okay, I just did it anyway, so just ignore that. One thing that I do think is really important to note that I will be showcasing, my Mualani is C2. She is also C2R1. So the way that I will be battling this is that we will only be looking at the second bout of damage when we normal attack, as C1 also increases her first attack by 66% 6% of her max HP. So the way that we're going to combat this and attempt to show free-to-play damage, obviously I will showcase C2 a little bit, but we'll showcase some free-to-play damage, or at least as close as I can personally get, because I can't deactivate constellations. Her C2 gives it so that you only have to hit an enemy once. You start off with 1 stack of her... It's really difficult to explain without showing, but basically Mualani has these little fishes next to her here, and you start off with 2 naturally at C2. Normally you start out with 1, meaning you have to hit an enemy twice, but we'll showcase some free-to-play damage, or at least as close as I can personally get, because I can't deactivate constellations. I will only be showing off the second hit, and I will also do the 1-2 this move where you have to go hit the enemy, and then you normal attack. Or at least I'm going to attempt to remember to do that. In terms of Mualani's weapons, she's a little bit like Nervalette in the sense that she has some fantastic weapon choices. Obviously, I'm very fortunate that I saved up enough pulls and I got very, very lucky that I was able to get her signature weapon, but some other ones that you can use as well. Sacrificial Jade from the Battle Pass is also a pretty decent choice for her. The crit rate is a little bit more redundant. When we get into artifacts, we'll talk about that a little bit more. Any weapon that can provide either HP percent or crit damage will, generally speaking, be more beneficial than something with crit rate, but there are some other ones. Thousand Floating Dreams, which is Nahida's signature weapon, although that may seem a little redundant, because of Mualani's main team composition being centered around Vaporize, the EM that it provides can actually be really beneficial. Even though it's not crit, it can still be pretty good. Some other ones, general 5-star weapons that can work. Tome of the Eternal Flow, which is Nervalette's signature weapon, can work for her as a stat stick. Obviously, there's more free-to-play options, like the Widsith is pretty good, even though she can't value a third of the weapon's passive being the attack buff. The EM and the damage bonus can still be really good for her. Obviously, there are much more free-to-play weapons than gacha ones. There is the Natlan craftable Ring of Yakshi, which released when she did. That's also a really good one. Prototype Amber, even though the healing can be more redundant. And then there is the event weapon that came out during 5.0, Ashgraven Drinking Horn, which in my personal opinion was designed with Mualani in mind based off of its passive. It's a really good choice. Unfortunately, as just a general DPS, Mualani can benefit from most just generic stat stick weapons. As somebody that proclaims themselves quite publicly as a Mualani enjoyer and a Mualani main, I often get asked what should be prioritized, whether you should go for C1 or R1. Obviously, this damage bonus is very good. The passive of her signature is amazing. I would benefit C1 over her R1. This is a personal opinion. I'm not talking about numbers specifically. I personally prioritize her C1 based off of the reason that she has so many free-to-play weapons, and even free-to-play weapons that have passives that fully she can benefit from, like Ring of Yakshi and Ashgraven Drinking Horn. And it also looks really good on her as well. Just as like a side note, it looks really good on her because it was designed for her in my own personal opinion. In terms of artifacts, there's really only one set that you should be farming for Mualani, and that is Obsidian Codex. As with any Natlan DPS, generically speaking, Obsidian Codex will be your go-to slot. It provides a ton of damage bonus just for having them in Nightsoul's Blessing state, which, to show you how simple it is to activate this passive, I'm going to press one button and she'll gain 40% crit rate. 83. She was on 43% crit rate, and now she has 83, all because I simply pushed that button. And she will have this the entire time that she is on field. It's one of the reasons why so many content creators just say farm for Obsidian Codex. I know some of you are probably sick and tired of hearing Obsidian Codex brought up every single time a new Natlan unit comes out, but it's because it's really good. 40% crit rate. I think when people hear the term 40% crit rate, they just go, well, I can build that in substats. You know, 40% crit rate, it's not like a big damage bonus. It's not, oh, you do 1,000,000 more % damage. But the thing is when you lose 40% crit rate from stats that you have to build on a unit, that means that you can invest in other stats, like HP percent for Mualani, or attack percent for Chasca. In terms of main stats, I highly recommend going and talking to a theory crafter rather than myself. Generally speaking, I run HP, hydro damage, and HP percent. The reason I run HP percent instead of a crit circlet is 1, I don't have any. To be perfectly candid, I don't have any. This is the only one that I've gotten. and it's kind of stinky. Fortunately, because of the fact that I have her signature weapon and it has such a high crit damage main stat, I can offset the fact that I don't have a crit damage circlet, because if I did have a crit damage circlet, I'd have anywhere between 200 and 80%. It allows me to build a hell of a lot of HP percent, which again, because of the fact that I have her C1, her first hit of damage will do a lot more damage if she has a lot more HP percent. In terms of talents, as I briefly mentioned earlier, you don't have to level her normal attack. Ignore the fact that I did it, I just really like her. Most of her damage will come from her E. Her burst is still a really good bout of damage, and I think you should still invest in it personally. But the main contender here, you could leave this alone. You could not level Boom Shakalaka, which I can't say in my accent because I sound like a twat. But Surfshark Wavebreaker is generally speaking the main thing. You could leave everything else unleveled. It's the most important thing that you'll ever need. I think it's time to look at some teams for Mualani, and I've said it once and I'll say it again. We'll go over my generic team that I use, which includes Siegewin. Yes, I know. Any excuse for wants to bring up the fact that she has a C2 Siegewin. I know. I have made a video about this team before, so I am just going to really quickly explain it again a little bit more in detail, because obviously it was only a 60-second video. I don't think I need to explain Xiangling's presence here in any way, shape or form. Siegewin is an interesting one when it comes to Mualani, for my team at least. While I don't think I am recommending this team to people, I think it would be unfair for me to be like, you should pull for Mualani. I'm not going to show you the team that I use though. So I'm just going to really quickly show you the team that I use. This is my Siegewin. She is on Song of Days Past, which obviously more healing is more buffing, which is very, very good. She is C2. There are two reasons why I use Siegewin in particular for this team. One of them is slightly more generic and has nothing to do with Siegewin, and it's just the fact that it can provide Hydro Resonance, which will increase Mualani's HP. The second reason that I use Siegewin is because of her C2. Her C2 is based off of whether her skill or her burst hits an opponent, and they will have their Hydro Res decreased for 35%. I like Siegewin because I have her C2. Just to flex, editing was, can you put the screenshot of me getting 3 Siegewins in a single temple? Thank you very much. That is my one claim to fame. I love Siegewin. I'm a Siegewin defender. And then finally in this team, we have Nahida. My Nahida is on Sacrificial Fragments. I really want her signature weapon though, so that I can further buff my units. The main reason that I use Nahida is because of her burst. Yeah, so Nahida's burst has an increased amount of duration when there's more Hydro units, meaning that obviously another benefit of having Hydro Resonance is that I can have 2 more units, which means I get an extra 8 seconds on Nahida's burst, which is quite significant. The other reason that I like Nahida is obviously because of the fact that her Dendro is really, really good, and it can keep Pyro applied to enemies, which makes it easier for Mualani to vape. Nahida's burst also transfers, if you have her at 1000 EM, 250 EM to whoever is the active party member, which means that Mualani gets a damage bonus on her vapes because of the EM transfer. So that's the main team that I use for Mualani and why I use them. So I guess we should go and showcase. I'm going to use my tried and true triangle because I always use my triangle. So for this initial showcase, I'll just do my generic run and then we'll start looking at like the more free to play rotation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop Siegewin's E just to immediately get that Hydro Res. I'm going to put my Nahida burst. I'm going to burst with Xiangling. I'm going to E with Guoba. I'm going to go in and then I'm going to immediately hit them 500,000. I'm going to go back in and I only got 100 because there wasn't pyro applied. And there's 287. So yeah, it's a pretty good team. I forgot to mention. Sorry, I swear I made notes. I have my notes up and I still forgot to mention this. The other reason why I really like Siegewin in this team is because of how bad Siegewin's Hydro application is. And it's one of the reasons why people don't like her and why they don't recommend her, because her Hydro application is really bad. However, the reason why I like to use Siegewin in this team instead of a unit like Farina, which is a question I often get asked, is because Farina's application is so quick and so good, it's really difficult to keep your vape setups clean. So that's why I like to use Siegewin, because Siegewin will just not apply Hydro. So once again, I'm gonna E with Siegewin, I'm gonna burst with Nahida, I'm gonna apply Guoba just to prove a point, and back in, and 280, and 280. Even without Pyro, she's still hitting 100k, which is quite consistent. How Mualani friendly is the current Abyss? I honestly have kind of forgotten. I know it came out literally the other day, but I've already forgotten. Let me just go clear the Abyss and I'll be back in a second. I did it. Yeah, I don't know how well centered she's going to be for this one, but... What was that? Was that 800? I honestly didn't see what that was. I'm just gonna do like a little tiny hit so the hydro res, and then that was 700. That was 400. And that was a non-crit. You have so much crit rate, woman, and you didn't. Just so much crit rate, and I swear she's a bit like Child and she doesn't crit. Man, Ayaka's back. Ayaka's so back in the meta. Let me try that again. So once again, we're gonna E. We're gonna do this. Make sure we get the burst up, and we're gonna... Huzzah! 600. Another one? Ooh, 300. Not bad. Not shabby. I'm gonna get my burst out. I'm gonna E. I'm gonna Siege Win. I'm gonna do this. The other thing that she's really good for is breaking through, obviously, these shields she's really good at, because obviously she's from Natlan, so she has a lot of Night Soul hits. I think all Natlan characters have... It's so... Oh, what's the wording for it? It's like Night Soul aligned damage. Honestly, Mualani's great, man. I know I'm biased, but Mualani's great. Okay, 700. 295. 254. Honestly, a quarter of a mil each time is pretty decent. You can't even be mad. 700. And see what I mean? We still have Hydra application coming in from Sijuan, and it's really not doing anything. All party members, okay, yeah, it's a pretty decent one for her. It's a pretty decent one, it's okay, I'll shut the fuck up. So my Purveyor of Punishment achievement, which is my highest crit, is currently 2.250983, which is 2.25 million, and that is Mualani. I know for a fact that that is Mualani. Now that we've shown off my favorite team to run Mualani in, let's talk about some more free-to-play teams and characters that you could replace other units with. So, we'll start off by talking about Pyro Applicators and who you could replace Shangling with. There are two main contenders for units that you could potentially want to use above Shangling. Mawika is obviously one of them. As the Pyro Archon, she's going to have more alignment with Mualani, but also Pyro Traveler. The main reason why you may want to use these two units over Shangling for Mualani is twofold. One, in Traveler's case, she's free-to-play friendly. You already have her just by doing the Natlan story. The other benefit for both of these units is the fact that they have Night Soul aligned kits, meaning that they can hold Cinder City. But also, the other benefit, which is something I don't see people talking about, mainly because I just don't think people understand how it works, is Night Soul Bursts. Night Soul Bursts are something that are built into every single Natlan character's kits, and they're like buffs in essence. After a party member triggers a Night Soul Burst, Mualani will gain one stack of Wave Chaser's exploits. Basically, Boom Shakalaka will deal increased damage based on max HP and the number of stacks that you've cleared. Every single character has a buff that is attached to a Night Soul Burst. All Night Soul Bursts are, in very, very simple terms, is this. Did you see that white thing that appeared on the screen? That white screen that appears is to show you that you've triggered a Night Soul Burst. Which, if you can see these arrows that are around Mualani, that means she's buffed. That is how easy a Night Soul Burst is to trigger. The only thing that you need to do to trigger a Night Soul Burst is to have a Natlan character in your party deal elemental damage. That's it, which you're going to do anyway. This buff has an internal cooldown, meaning that there is a cooldown or a wait or an interval, however you want to word it, on how often you can get that buff. That cooldown decreases the more Natlan characters you have in your party. So for example, if I was running Mualani, let's say I was running, my Pyro Applicator was Mawika. I then wanted to run Xilonen because I wanted to buff her further. And let's say to buff my Mualani's damage even more, I put a Citlali in my team. You have a full team of Natlan units, meaning that that internal cooldown is going to be very reduced in comparison to, let's say, the team that I was running before with Shangling, Nahida, and Siegeman. This is one of the main reasons why a lot of people say that you should run more Natlan units in your teams if you're running a Natlan DPS. I don't think it's worth stressing over trying to get a full team of Natlan characters, because even if I wanted to run this team, let's say I did want to run Mawika and Jalonan, I don't think I would run Citlali here. Personally, I don't think I would. I think I would still run a Dendro unit here, which means that that's not a full team of Natlan. I don't always like using Mawika, and I often want to run Varessa in the Abyss. I would use Mawika on that half, so okay, well, I don't want to use Mawika then. I want to put Xiangling back in. It will come down to who you have available and who you want to pull for. I don't think it's worth pulling characters to just have a full team of Natlan units. In terms of more free-to-play choices for Pirate Applicators, D here is a really, really good one. She can apply it from off-field, and she can pretty much hold any set that you want. If you want to put more of a buffing set on her, it can work quite well. Toma is good for another reason, because of the fact that if you don't have constellations for Mualani, she can become a little bit squishy, and the rotations can get a bit more tricky due to the fact that you're moving around a lot more and not as quick. Toma can be really good to provide interruption resistance from his shield, but also he's HP scaling as well, so if you wanted to run, say you wanted to run a Farina in your team, he can also benefit and have an increased shield from Hydro Resonance. Moving on to Hydro Applicators or Hydro teammates that you can have, a lot of people will want to use Farina. It will increase her damage. It will obviously be very, very good. I don't personally enjoy Farina for the reasons that I've stated. Farina is such an amazing Hydro Applicator. She's too good for Mualani that she steals vape setups. In terms of other Hydro units that you could use if you don't have a C2 Siegeman lying around, Mona is fantastic. She's, generally speaking, I consider standard characters to be free-to-play friendly. Mona can be really good because she can buff the damage without messing up vape setups, so I really like her. Candace, again, is another one because she is based off of max HP. She can also benefit. She does buff damage as well, but her Hydro application is very little, meaning it often doesn't mess with vape setups. Dahlia is a newer addition that I don't think his normal attack speed does do anything for Mualani, but again, he does have a shield, so it can benefit, and again, provide that Hydro res if you're a little bit short on Hydro units that can help from off field. Moving on, we have what I like to call the generic support or generic fourth slot. Theory crafters would call it a flex slot. This is the other unit that you can have in your team. So for example, for Natlan units, Jalonan is tried and true. She's fantastic, she'll buff whatever. Emily is another interesting one. I like Emily if you're running a C0 Mualani, because again, as I spoke about in my last video where I talked about whether Emily was worth pulling for or not, Emily can help sometimes offset the damage that you're missing whilst you're doing your rotation with Mualani or even with Linny. She's a really, really good choice because she can apply a lot of Dendro, keeping burning applied, which will in turn increase her personal damage, once again offsetting the missing damage that you have whilst you're doing your setup with your DPS. For more free-to-play friendly options, Kirara is a really good option for free-to-play, or even Yao Yao as well can be really, really good. In terms of Animo, I only have Kazuha built really when it comes to swirlers, so I can't particularly speak on other ones. But obviously Sucrose will be great, tried and true, she'll work fantastic, she'll do the job. Kazuha is really, really good. Again, if you have further constellations, you can have EM transfer, which Mualani can benefit from for pyro application and for vapes. I think that's kind of it. I think I want to do a free-to-play damage showcase. This is the team that we're going to run for a free-to-play showcase. Obviously, yes, Xiangling is in my regular team. I consider Xiangling relatively free-to-play. She was in the start of the game. A lot of people will have her further constellation if they've been playing for a while. We have Yao Yao. She is on a Favonius Lance, Deepwood Memories. Then we've got Candace on an energy recharge set on a black tassel. Obviously, they're all C6. I can't do anything about the fact that they're C6. So I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I actually did not see what that was. 168. 168. 168. So pretty consistently 168. Do I have a... Yeah, okay, we'll try a free-to-play weapon on her as well. And I will just steal Kenichi's crit damage one. I'm gonna do the exact same thing. First. Can I crit, please? Can I crit? I didn't crit once. I didn't crit once, and I have 73% crit rate. Are you kidding me? I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go bang. 136. And that is again with a free-to-play weapon. She's insane. I think sitting here and being like, oh, she's pretty pretty good. She's insane. She's really good. I think obviously, like any unit, she's going to benefit more from having her premium team, but she's still a really solid unit. I cannot recommend Mualani enough, especially if you don't enjoy Nervalet's gameplay. I find hers a lot more fun, a lot more active. However, with that being said, a lot of her downfall is in how clunky her C0 gameplay is, so I highly recommend trying her out first and seeing whether you enjoy her before you start pulling. If you plan on topping up this patch, I cannot recommend using Loot Bar enough. Loot Bar is a secure game trading platform offering both game top-ups and item trading for a fraction of the price offered in store. They support games such as Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, Zenless Zone Zero, Wuthering Waves, Infinity Nikki, Love and Deep Space, and many, many more. The process is also super easy. I'm going to be topping up in Genshin to show you. Simply select your desired pack, enter your account UID and region, choose the way that you'd like to pay, and it arrived before Mualani could even finish her idle animation. But you don't just have to take my word for it. Loot Bar has over 20,000 positive reviews with a 4.9 rating on Trustpilot. Please feel free to use my affiliate link in the description to start saving, and new users will also receive a 10% off coupon when joining. Thank you Loot Bar for supporting this channel, and let's get back to the video. I think it's time to talk about Chasca. Chasca is a unit that I think is so fantastically unique. I think she's worth pulling just because of how different she is. I won't get into her design, because I talked about that in the video where she was released. I think her design's amazing. I don't care what anybody says. I think she's beautiful. Her kit is just so interesting to me and so well done that I would really like her C2. I certainly think that there are a couple of holes in her kit that could be made slightly better and are with constellations. Chasca is an attack scaling, questionably animo DPS. Her animo damage is okay, but it is completely outshined by her PHEC damage, which when I refer to PHEC, what I am talking about is Pyro, Hydro, Electro, and Cryo. So if I say PHEC, that's what I'm referring to. Chasca is so unique in that sense, and I think she's so interesting, and I really hope with Nodcry that they do more kits like this that are, in a sense, multi-element, but I just think she's so cool. I think she's so different. I think she's so unique. In terms of her weapon choices, because I'm a dirty whale, I have her on her signature weapon, Astral Vulture's Crimson Plumage. It's a fantastic weapon. It's obviously designed for her. It is a little less versatile, as in order to get that attack increase in the first part of the passive, the wearer has to be the one triggering the swirl reaction. In terms of her other options, generically speaking, any 5-star weapon would be good. For Chasca, she has a couple options in terms of stat sticks, anything like Aqua Simulacra, Thundering Pulse from Yoimiya's, Linny's weapon, the First Great Magic, I believe works on her quite well. The other options that she has that are sort of more free-to-play-ish friendly, Flower Wreathed Feathers came out during the patch that Chasca was released, which was a gacha weapon. She can be used with this weapon. Again, I count anything on standard really as free-to-play, so Amos Bow could also work. Less free-to-play, I know, but I believe both of the Battle Pass weapons work quite well for her as well, so it's definitely worth looking into. As I mentioned earlier, the only thing that you will hear coming out of people's mouths when it comes to Natlan DPSs and artifacts is, unfortunately, Obsidian Codex. I genuinely don't think there is a better one out there for her. I think she can use Marishose Hunter with Farina, but again, personally, I just think Obsidian is the way to go. In terms of stat, please ignore how- can I click on a different piece that doesn't look as bad? Can we use this one instead? The main thing that you'll want to note with Chasca is that you'll want an attack timepiece and you will want an attack goblet. The reason for this is because of how her scalings and her damage works. While you could put an elemental goblet on her and only buff her pyro or only buff her electro, in my opinion, having that extra attack and also statistically having that attack will be better for you, especially over an animo damage goblet. So definitely run an attack goblet, and again, because it's Obsidian Codex, you'll want a crit damage circlet. Chasca is again like Mualani, even though it's considered charged attack damage, it comes from her elemental skill, so you don't have to level her normal attack. The main team that I run with Chasca is this one, which is a Raw run, which again was a 4-star that came out on her release. He is fantastic with her side by side. They work very, very well together, and they work in tandem. The reason why I say they work in tandem with each other is one of Auroron's passives is based off of somebody other than him dealing either electro or hydro damage. Chasca's electro/hydro damage can count towards this passive. Swirls themselves don't count. So swirling electro doesn't count as dealing electro. But because Chasca can deal her own PHEC damage, the hydro and the electro damage that she deals can trigger his passive. I don't think I'm going to need to introduce Farina or Bennett here. They're both really, really good. We're going to do the exact same thing that we did with Mualani. We're going to showcase this team, and then we'll talk about potential teammates. In this case, I'm going to do one more rundown. We have Bennett on Favonius. He is on Noblesse Oblige. He is C6. His talents are 8 on his burst and his skill. Farina is 888 just because I want to make DPS Farina. She is on her signature weapon. She is on 4-piece Golden Troop, and she's really good. Auroron we have on Sacrificial Bow. He is on Cinder City. He is C5. I am so close to C6, and he is of course 88. So as per usual, we're just going to set everything up. Farina's going to go first. She's going to drain some HP. We're going to burst. I'm going to Auroron 2Es. I'm going to burst. Maybe should have done Bennett first. That's on me. And we're going with Chasca. Shoot. I'll try and separate some of these numbers so that you can more clearly see what's going on in post, and she's dead. I'm going to be so real with you. I'm going to talk to you one-on-one here. It is so hard to separate Chasca's numbers even in post to understand how much damage she did. So I'm just going to take a look at this one first hit where in theory she's got most of the buffs. And I reckon around 120k damage. I saw a 50k, there's a couple 30ks, and there's definitely a 20 in there somewhere. It's really difficult to separate her numbers, okay? They all happen at the same time, and I can't tell what's going on. But yeah, she does about 120k per charged hit, so there you go, bon appetit. I'm gonna try her on Raiden because I feel like I can't see anything. Okay. Okay. Well, Raiden nearly rocked our shit, but we did one phase her in essence. Okay. Same sort of shtick as always. Oh, I've gone up in the sky. I've been shot up. And we'll do this. It's 117, I think? Oh fuck, there goes Farina. But that's in essence how this team functions. Chasca is an amazing, amazing unit, so let's talk about some other ones that you could do. The only real no-no with Chasca is you cannot run her in Dendro and you cannot run her with Geo. Chasca benefits from any character that can increase team DPS or apply an element from off-field. So anyone like Yaimiko or Fischl can be really good to increase team DPS, or application of elements. Lisa is a great choice. Chasca is only redundant in the sense that she can't use units like Xingqiu and Yelan as they require normal attacking for consistent hydro application. So other units that can once again either apply the element off field or buff are really, really good. Farina is a solid option. I think most people have Farina even as a 5-star unit, but other ones, Siegeman again can work, especially for the hydro reduction. Mona again, another solid free-to-play option for buffing. Once again, the pyro options are relatively similar. Mawika and Pyro Traveler can help Chasca because of the fact that they can hold Cinder City, they're in Night Soul, they'll reduce the Night Soul burst cooldown. Toma can be quite helpful as he can provide some interruption resistance. As you saw in that showcase, I got knocked out of the sky a couple of times just because, again, she's very, very squishy, so a shielder can be quite beneficial. In terms of cryo units, Shenhe can again be quite a decent unit as she can actually buff the cryo damage that Chasca does deal. Similarly with Citlali, Night Soul burst, etc, Cinder City, blah blah blah. But again, the shield can be quite good for interruption resistance. Similarly with Diona, she can provide healing as well as a shield. meld. Ianson can also be quite good. As you can see, the way that I play Chasca is I will move her in a circle to avoid getting hit and being stagnant. So Ianson can again be a great addition. Cinder City, blah blah blah, you've heard it before. But also the way that Ianson's buff works is based off of your movement and how much you move. So again, can be kind of beneficial. And finally, it's time to talk about Citlali. Citlali again is a unit that I have been so excited for since she was shown in the original I was gonna say Notcry because my mind is currently on the Notcry. In the original Natlan teaser. I think she's a fantastic unit. I think she's a better unit than people gave her credit for when she first got shown or when she first got announced. And I think that with Mawika, having her in her premium team, I think has proven a lot of people that she is very, very useful. In terms of artifacts, once again, as a Natlan unit, of course, she's going to want Cinder City as a support. It's a generically good support. The only thing that I will say in terms of Citlali, you are, especially when it comes to Mawika's premium teams, you will have Jalonan and Citlali in those teams if you are specifically running Mawika's premium. There are other sets that you can use. Obviously, you could swap Jalonan onto something like Archaic Petra for the damage bonus, which could work. If you want to run Citlali on something else, you can use 2-piece EM, or Tenacity of the Millilith can work for that attack buff. It will just depend on the team that you're running. I still think it's worth having her on Cinder City and possibly moving Jalona onto something else, but that'll be my opinion. You'll want triple elemental mastery across the board for your artifacts. That's just gonna be how it works. She scales off of EM. She has a damage scaling in her later passives that increase her damage based off of elemental mastery. You're gonna want elemental mastery. It's what her shield scales off of. It's what everything scales off of. In terms of weapons, obviously, of course, I'm a dirty whale. I have her signature weapon. Basically, any EM based weapon, Thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayer, Wandering Evans Star, Thousand Floating Dreams, Mappa Mare, Sacrificial Fragments, Magic Guide, all of those will be valuable options that can work. I believe, obviously, it's now a bit of a hidden artifact. Sunny Morning Sleepin', which is Mizuki's signature weapon, can also work for her. In terms of non-EM based weapons, the only other one that I would recommend is potentially Favonius Codex. Obviously, Energy Recharge, it's a generically good weapon. I know it feels like all we talk about is Favonius weapons, but it's a good weapon. It will do the job. I would recommend, if you are running her on Favonius Codex, to potentially swap out an EM circlet for a crit circlet just to make sure that you are critting. I have mine C0. I would like her C2, as with most units, C1 to 2 seems to be a good stopping point for most of them, but they are really, really good. I have mine on 888. Again, normal attack is kind of useless, to be honest, for most Natlan units, as it seems. The main team that I run Citlali in is a Yoimiya Melt team. I know that may sound stupid, but I love Yoimiya Melt. We're going to be looking at a couple other ones that are more generic, that maybe don't involve Yoimiya, but for the current moment in time, we're going to look at Yoimiya. Just to give you the rundown of this team, the only character that we've not looked at really is Yunjin. She is on a Favonius Lance, 4-piece Husk of Opulent Dreams. She's C6, she's 88. Yoimiya is 888, she is C0. She is on Shiminama's Reminiscence, and of course she's on a signature weapon. Just to make sure that we're critting, because I cannot be asked to do this again, I'm just going to eat some crit rate food. 89, 105. Honestly, that wasn't bad. We got a 100 there at the end. We got a little cheeky 100 with my Yoimiya. Generally speaking, because of the way that Citlali's kit works, she can either buff Frozen or she can buff Melt. So there are a couple of teams that we can try out. The first one we'll try out here is, I think we'll just, honestly, we could probably do we could do a clean swap, but to be honest, we'll probably just chuck in a Kazuha here. Gonna E, trigger. Perfect. Let's start normal attacking. 65, 76, 81. I think that was 150. 120. Honestly, solid team. Works really, really well. Really, really good. The other silly little team that I sometimes like to do is this Mualani freeze team, because it's so stupid and it kind of works. So we'll try this. I think I may need to try this on something that is a little not squishy. So we'll go back to Raiden, I think, and we'll try Raiden out. I swear, I'm not skill issuing. Why does this work, man? This shouldn't work. There are a couple of units that benefit from her that I don't have, mainly Nervalette, Skirk, and Mawika. Obviously I do have Mawika, she's level 40, so I can't do anything with her. I'm also building her as a support and not on Obsidian Codex, so leave me alone. Citlali is a fantastic support because of the Hydro and Pyro res that she can bring to any team, as well as the utility of having a shield. A lot of people downplay the importance of a shield, but sometimes it can be the difference between clearing and not clearing. There aren't many teams, I would say, that do benefit from her that are, I would say, more free to play. I think inherently 5-star supports lean less towards free to play teams. I think Citlali in herself is very free to play friendly. She only needs elemental mastery. There are lots of free to play elemental mastery based weapons, or even just support based ones like Thrilling Tales that she can work with. But most DPSs that you would want to run her with are less free to play in the sense that you're pulling for a 5-star support. If you have some more older units, maybe like a Hu Tao that you want to buff, Citlali can work great with Hu Tao in that sense. Even Diluc is another great option. She can buff these units again with the Pyro res decrease, and just being from Natlan, she can hold Cinder City. Another great free-to-play option that I really enjoy is Garming. Garming can benefit a hell of a lot with Citlali. I think she's great for Pyro units. I think I see her utility a little less in Hydro units. Obviously, I can't speak on Nervalette. I don't have him and I don't want him. But in terms of Pyro units, I think she's really, really good. And if you want her, pull for her. That's kind of my generic belief in general. She's a very, very good unit and your account will benefit from it. So that's kind of it in terms of the characters that we have confirmed. I guess we could talk a little bit about Ineffa. Ineffa bringing a new reaction to the table, I think inherently makes her a very interesting character. Personally, I'm not going to say this with my full chest in case they don't do it. Genshin have a history of releasing units in the first patch, specifically 4-star units that have a new mechanic or the new reaction. They did it with Kole in Sumeru, they did it with Lynette in Fontaine, and they did it with Kachina in Natlan. Kachina bringing along Night Soul, Lynette bringing along Usia and Numa, and obviously Kole bringing along Dendro. I find it very difficult to believe that they won't do it again in Nodcry, especially for a new reaction. So while you may feel in essence a bit forced to pull for Ineffa because she's the only character that can currently trigger this reaction, I don't think it would be a bad idea to maybe wait and see what 6.0 is bringing along. It's unfortunate that she's on the first half and not on the second half. I usually recommend people wait until they see the 0.0 stream or the next stream in general before making decisions on their pulls. I see Ineffa being a little bit like Emily in that sense, that Emily came out in 4.8 and then in 5.0 we got Kaniche, who heavily benefits from Emily's existence. So I think to say that the likelihood that Ineffa won't have a character that comes out in the next patch that she will be really good for is 0, I think would be a lie. I think there's a really high chance for a new character to come out that will benefit highly from her. But again, in the sense, Kaniche can still function without Emily. And I think that whatever this new character is that is coming out in 6.0, if they did release one, would still probably work fine without them. I think Ineffa's design to me looks really cool. I think she does look like Noelle a little bit, and I think that that's really funny. I think her kit looks interesting. I think the shield is probably something that's going to be not too important, but the idea of Lunar Charged I think is really cool. Given the patch itself, or the sort of release of this part of Snezhnaya is called the Song of the Welkin Moon, and it's like this lunar themed thing, and you know, there's a lot of the Moon Sisters lore. I don't want to speak too soon and have this be clipped and make me look like an ass. I don't think it would be too far of a stretch to suggest we may get more lunar reactions in the future, as we know for a fact, lore-wise, that there is a power throughout Nodcry that predates the 7 elements of Teyvat, and if Luna is seemingly this power that predates the elements, it's not too difficult to assume that there will be more lunar powers in the future, in future characters, and that this may be in essence the Night Soul mechanic of Nodcry. But so far, Ineffa looks really interesting. I think she's really cool. I think Lunar Charged as a reaction looks very interesting. The fact that it's a transformative reaction that can crit, and then potentially that may be a direction that, oh, if we get Lunar Bloom or Lunar Vape, like maybe Dendrocores can just crit now. That would be kind of cool. I'm not sure what they would do with stuff like Vape and Melt, which crits anyway, but I think that would just be an interesting thing. I hope to see more for Geo. If there's like a crystallized, like Lunar Crystal or something, that could be kind of cool. I am personally going to be pulling for Ineffa. I'm a little bit on the fence about pulling for her signature weapon at the current moment in time. I don't know, but I will be pulling for her because I'm very, very interested. So that's really it. And that is the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, as always. Once again, thank you so much for all of your support on everything. But the Instagram is slowly getting back to where it was. If you aren't following, please go and follow. We did get hacked. We did lose the account, but we're back. We've got a new one. We're slowly getting there. We have so many exciting videos coming up with Ineffa summons, another Natlan in 24 hours, the summer patch, potentially a Yolan skin giveaway. Not sure on that one. I won't talk out my ass. And we're getting so close to hitting our goal of 20,000 subscribers before September 1st. So make sure you are subscribed. Thank you once again to Loot Bar for supporting this channel. They're really, really good. I really, really like them. Highly recommend them. They're a big supporter of this channel and it really, really does help us out. Even just creating a Loot Bar account also helps me out. So thank you very, very much. I will see you in the next video. Good night, wherever you are, or good morning. Kiss, kiss. Bye-bye, and drive safe.